I never thought I'd be the type of person to cheat. Life was simple, predictable, and comfortably monotonous. But temptation has a way of creeping in, a subtle whisper that turns into a deafening roar. That whisper had a name: Rachel. I met Rachel at a work conference. My wife Emily and I had been married for 6 years. We were happy, or at least I thought we were. Rachel, with her fiery red hair and green eyes that seemed to pierce through my soul, was different. She was wild, free-spirited, and everything Emily was not. We clicked instantly, and it wasn't long before our harmless flirting turned into something much more dangerous. It was a Friday night when I first cheated. Emily was out of town visiting her parents. Rachel and I had stayed late at the office, finishing a project. One thing led to another, and before I knew it, we were in a hotel room, tangled in sheets and sin. Guilt gnawed at me the next morning, but I pushed it aside, convincing myself it was a one-time thing. But one time turned into twice, then thrice. Soon, Rachel and I were meeting in secret whenever we could. The thrill was intoxicating, the danger exciting. I knew I was playing with fire, but the heat was too alluring to resist. One night, after another clandestine rendezvous, Rachel and I lay in bed, basking in the afterglow. She turned to me, a mischievous smile playing on her lips. "You know, there's this legend," she said, her fingers tracing patterns on my chest. "They say, if you cheat, you invite something dark into your life." I laughed, dismissing her words as a playful attempt to scare me. "Come on, Rachel, don't tell me you believe in ghost stories." She shrugged, her smile fading. "Just something my grandmother used to say. She was superstitious, said cheaters are marked, cursed. She believed they attracted vengeful spirits." Her words lingered with me, a nagging thought at the back of my mind. But I brushed it off. I was too deep into the affair to let an old wives' tale spook me. 2 weeks later, strange things started happening. It began with little, almost imperceptible occurrences. Lights flickered, cold drafts brushed past me in closed rooms, and objects seemed to move on their own. I chalked it up to faulty wiring and overactive imagination. Then, one night, I woke up to the sound of whispering. I sat up, heart pounding, straining to hear. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. They were unintelligible, but filled with anger and malice. I turned on the light, but the room was empty. Emily lay beside me, undisturbed. I tried to shake off the unease, but the whispers continued, night after night. They grew louder, more coherent, always accusing. "Cheater," they hissed, "betrayer." One evening, I came home late from work. Emily was waiting for me, her expression unreadable. "We need to talk," she said, her voice strained. Panic surged through me. Had she found out? I tried to play it cool, nodding as I followed her to the living room. She handed me her phone, a video queued up. My heart sank as I watched footage of Rachel and me caught in the act. Emily's face was pale, her eyes red from crying. "How could you?" she whispered, tears streaming down her face. I had no words. My mind raced, searching for excuses, apologies, anything to make it right. But there was nothing. I had betrayed her in the worst possible way. Emily left that night, taking only her essentials. I was left alone in our house, surrounded by the remnants of our life together. The whispers grew louder, more menacing, as if they were feeding off my guilt and despair. Sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford. The whispers tormented me, denying me peace. Shadows moved in the corners of my vision, dark figures lurking just out of sight. My work suffered, and my friends grew distant, sensing something was wrong. One night, as I sat in the dimly lit living room, nursing a glass of whiskey, I felt a presence. The air grew cold, and the shadows seemed to thicken. I turned, my breath hitching, as I saw a figure standing in the doorway. It was Emily, but not as I remembered her. Her eyes were hollow, her face gaunt and twisted with anger. "You did this," she whispered, her voice echoing with the whispers that had haunted me for weeks. I stumbled back, the glass slipping from my hand and shattering on the floor. "Emily, how are you here?" She stepped closer, her movements unnatural, like a puppet on strings. "You brought this upon yourself. You let them in." I realized then what Rachel had meant. I was cursed, marked by my betrayal. The vengeful spirits had found their way into my life, using my guilt and shame as a conduit. Emily, or whatever had taken her form, lunged at me, her hands cold and unyielding as they wrapped around my throat. I struggled, gasping for air, but her grip was unrelenting. My vision darkened, the world slipping away as the whispers grew deafening. In my final moments, I saw the truth. I had betrayed the woman who loved me, broken my vows, and let darkness into my life. And now it was claiming me. As consciousness faded, I heard Emily's voice, clear and full of sorrow. "Goodbye, Jacob. You brought this on yourself." I woke up in a hospital bed, my throat sore and bruised. The doctors said I had a panic attack, that I was lucky my neighbor heard my struggle and called 911. But I knew the truth. The spirits had let me live, but the price was my sanity. Emily never came back. She filed for divorce, and I couldn't blame her. Rachel disappeared, leaving only a cryptic note apologizing for everything. I was alone, haunted by my actions and the consequences that followed. I sold the house, moved to a new city, and tried to start over. But the whispers followed me, a constant reminder of my betrayal. The shadows still moved, and cold drafts still brushed past me, a chilling reminder of the darkness I had invited into my life. I had become a prisoner of my own making, trapped in a nightmare of my own creation, and there was no escape. The spirits were always there, waiting, watching, reminding me that some sins can never be forgiven.